I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now and listen to me very carefully because what I'm about to reveal is going to shake the entire wrestling world to its core and expose the most calculated, most diabolical, most insanely brilliant conspiracy that Roman Reigns has ever orchestrated in his entire career. The mystery attacker who blindsided CM Punk during Wargames wasn't some random act of violence, it wasn't a returning superstar with a personal vendetta, and it definitely wasn't the obvious suspect that everyone's been arguing about online. Roman Reigns hired that person. Roman Reigns orchestrated the entire attack. Roman Reigns used CM Punk as a pawn in a chess game so sophisticated that nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody except maybe Paul Heyman, saw it coming until it was too late. And before you start typing in the comments that I'm insane, that I'm making things up for views, that there's no way Roman would do something this elaborate while he's supposed to be fighting Solo Sikoa, I need you to shut up and listen to every single word I'm about to say because the evidence is overwhelming, the motive is crystal clear, and when I'm done laying this out you're going to be absolutely furious that you didn't see the signs that were hiding in plain sight this entire time. By the end of this video you're either going to be frantically sharing this everywhere because you finally understand what's really happening, or you're going to be so angry at Roman Reigns that you'll never look at the tribal chief the same way again. Either way, you won't be able to stay silent, and that's exactly what I'm counting on. Let me take you back to the moment that changed everything and set this entire conspiracy in motion. During the Wargames match, in the middle of absolute chaos with bodies everywhere and multiple storylines colliding, CM Punk was suddenly attacked by a masked figure who came out of nowhere. The assault was brutal, it was precise, it was perfectly timed to cause maximum damage and maximum confusion. Punk went down hard, the match descended into even more pandemonium, and in the immediate aftermath everyone started speculating about who could possibly be behind such a calculated attack. The wrestling world exploded with theories. People threw out every name imaginable. Was it someone from Punk's AEW past finally catching up with him? Was it a returning legend with unfinished business? Was it someone from the current roster looking to make a statement? But here's what nobody considered, here's what everyone missed because they were so focused on the who that they forgot to ask the why. What if the attack on CM Punk had nothing to do with CM Punk at all? What if Punk was just collateral damage in a much larger game that Roman Reigns has been playing since the moment he returned to align with the original bloodline? Think about this carefully and really let it marinate in your brain for a second. Roman Reigns is the smartest, most strategic, most calculating character in WWE history. This is a man who held the Universal Championship for over 1,200 days not through pure physical dominance but through manipulation, strategy, and always being 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Roman doesn't do anything without a purpose. Roman doesn't make moves that don't serve his ultimate goal of power and control. So when Roman came back to team with the Usos and Sami Zayn to fight Solo Sikoa's new bloodline, everyone just accepted the surface-level story that this was about family, about reclaiming his position, about punishing Solo for disrespect. But that's what Roman wanted you to think. That's the story WWE sold to the audience while the real plan was being executed right under everyone's noses. And the attack on CM Punk was a critical piece of that plan, a move so brilliant in its execution that it accomplished multiple objectives simultaneously while making it look like it had nothing to do with Roman at all. Here's what really happened, and I need you to follow me closely because this is where it gets absolutely wild and where everything starts making perfect sense once you see the full picture. Roman Reigns hired someone, and we'll get to who that someone might be in a minute, to attack CM Punk during Wargames for a very specific reason. Roman needed chaos. Roman needed distraction. Roman needed everyone including WWE management, the other wrestlers, and the millions of fans watching to be so focused on the mystery of who attacked Punk and why that they wouldn't be paying attention to what Roman was really doing and what he was really planning. Because while everyone has been obsessing over the Punk attack, while all the attention and speculation has been focused on solving that mystery, Roman has been consolidating power backstage in ways that nobody's noticing. He's been having conversations with key people. He's been making alliances and promises. He's been positioning himself not just to defeat Solo Sikoa but to emerge from this entire bloodline civil war with more control over WWE than he had even during his historic championship reign. The genius of using CM Punk as the target is multi-layered and shows just how well Roman understands wrestling psychology and media manipulation. First, CM Punk is one of the biggest names in wrestling, someone whose involvement in any story automatically generates massive attention and discussion. By having Punk attacked, Roman guaranteed that this would dominate conversation for weeks or months, creating the perfect smokescreen for his real activities. Second, Punk has so many potential enemies from his time in WWE, his run in AEW, his UFC career, his podcast controversies, literally everywhere he's been, that the list of suspects would be enormous and would keep people speculating indefinitely. Third, and this is crucial, attacking Punk creates sympathy for Punk, which serves Roman's purposes perfectly because it keeps Punk occupied with his own storyline and revenge quest instead of potentially interfering with whatever Roman has planned. And fourth, by making sure the attack happened during Wargames during Roman's match, it creates perfect plausible deniability because everyone assumes Roman was too busy with his own situation to possibly be involved with what happened to Punk. Now let's talk about who Roman hired to carry out this attack, because this is where the conspiracy gets even deeper and more insane. I don't think it was Seth Rollins, despite what some people are theorizing. I don't think it was Drew McIntyre, even though he has obvious issues with Punk. I think Roman hired someone from outside WWE's current main roster, someone who has personal loyalty to Roman or the Anoa'i family, someone who could come in, do the job, and disappear without raising immediate suspicion about Roman's involvement. There are several possibilities here. It could be someone from Roman's extended family who's been working independent shows or developmental. It could be a former WWE wrestler who owes Roman a favor or who wants to get back in good graces with the company. It could even be someone still under WWE contract but working in NXT or behind the scenes who Roman has leverage over. The specific identity matters less than the fact that Roman definitely has the connections, the influence, and the resources to make something like this happen without leaving obvious fingerprints. The timeline of events leading up to Wargames supports this theory in ways that are impossible to ignore once you start looking at them with suspicious eyes instead of just accepting the narrative you're being fed. In the weeks before Wargames, Roman was having these mysterious closed-door meetings backstage that were mentioned briefly in some reports but never fully explained. WWE's official line was that Roman was discussing strategy with the Usos and Sami about how to approach the match against Solo's team. But what if those meetings weren't about match strategy at all? What if Roman was actually coordinating this attack on Punk, making arrangements, ensuring everyone understood their role, creating the infrastructure necessary to pull off this conspiracy without getting caught? Paul Heyman was notably present at many of these meetings, and Heyman is the mastermind behind some of the most elaborate schemes in wrestling history. If anyone could help Roman plan something this complex, it would be Heyman. There's also the question of motive, because hiring someone to attack CM Punk seems random and unnecessary for Roman unless there's a deeper purpose that connects to his ultimate goals. And that's where this gets really interesting, because I think Roman's long-term plan goes way beyond just defeating Solo Sikoa or even reuniting the bloodline under his leadership. I think Roman is planning a hostile takeover of WWE itself, positioning himself to have so much power and influence that he essentially controls the entire company's direction regardless of what Triple H or anyone else in management wants. And to accomplish that, Roman needs chaos. He needs multiple crises happening simultaneously so that management is overwhelmed and distracted. He needs other top stars dealing with their own problems instead of potentially opposing him. He needs to create a situation where he can position himself as the only solution to the chaos, the only person with enough power and credibility to restore order, and then use that position to extract concessions and guarantees that give him unprecedented control. The attack on CM Punk serves this purpose perfectly, because now WWE has to dedicate resources to investigating who did it, to keeping Punk happy and preventing him from going nuclear the way he has at previous companies when he feels disrespected, to managing whatever fallout comes when the attacker is eventually revealed. That's attention and energy that's not being focused on what Roman is doing, on what power moves he might be making, on what alliances he might be forming behind the scenes. It's the perfect distraction, and Roman created it deliberately, knowing exactly how WWE would react and exactly how much breathing room it would give him to operate without scrutiny. Let's examine Roman's character and history, because understanding who he is and what drives him makes this conspiracy not just plausible but actually the most logical explanation for what happened. Roman Reigns has spent years building a character based on control, dominance, and strategic thinking. He's not a brawler who acts on impulse. He's a chess player who thinks multiple moves ahead and always has contingency plans. Every major move Roman has made in his career has been calculated to increase his power and position. When he turned on the Shield, it was strategic. When he aligned with Paul Heyman, it was strategic. When he built the bloodline and made GUSO his right hand through psychological manipulation, it was strategic. Everything Roman does serves a purpose, and the idea that he would just come back to WWE after losing his title, team up with his old allies, and have a straightforward redemption story where he defeats Solo and everyone lives happily ever after, that doesn't fit his character at all. There has to be another layer, another scheme, another power play in motion. And think about what happened at Wargames itself beyond just the Punk attack. Roman's team won, obviously, defeating Solo's faction in what looked like a triumphant moment for the original bloodline. But watch Roman's demeanor after the match carefully if you go back and look at the footage. He doesn't celebrate like someone who just achieved a major goal. He doesn't show emotion or relief or satisfaction. He looks calculating. He looks like someone who just completed step 1 of a much larger plan and is already thinking about steps 2 through 10. That's the face of a man running a long con, not someone enjoying a moment of victory. And if you look at how Roman interacted with the Usos and Sami during and after the match, there are these little moments, these micro-expressions and body language tells that suggest Roman sees them as tools rather than true partners. He's using them just like he's used everyone throughout this entire bloodline saga, and they don't even realize it yet. The reaction from WWE management to the Punk attack is also suspicious and revealing in ways that support this theory. You would expect WWE to be pulling out all the stops to find the attacker, to have security footage, to have witnesses, to conduct a thorough investigation that gets results quickly. But instead we've gotten vague statements about ongoing investigations and promises of answers eventually with no real urgency or progress. Why? Because I think WWE, or at least certain people in power, already know who did it. They know Roman was behind it. But they can't do anything about it because Roman has too much leverage, too much political power, too many connections. Firing or punishing Roman would create bigger problems than just letting this play out. So they're stuck managing the situation, trying to control the damage, hoping that when the truth eventually comes out they can spin it in a way that doesn't destroy everything. Paul Heyman's role in all of this cannot be overstated because Heyman is the puppet master who makes Roman's schemes possible. Heyman has decades of experience in wrestling, relationships with everyone who matters, and a brilliant strategic mind that's been behind some of the most memorable angles in history. If Roman came to Heyman and said I want to attack CM Punk during Wargames but make it look like I have nothing to do with it, Heyman would immediately understand the value of that move and would know exactly how to make it happen. Heyman would know who to contact, how to structure the payment or favor, how to ensure loyalty and silence from everyone involved. And Heyman would appreciate the pure chess move brilliance of creating chaos to obscure your real objectives. This has Heyman's fingerprints all over it even though he'll never publicly admit involvement because maintaining plausible deniability is part of how these conspiracies work. The wrestlers who are caught in the middle of this, particularly the Usos and Sami Zayn, are probably the most tragic figures in this whole situation because they genuinely believe they're doing the right thing by supporting Roman. They think they're fighting for family, for loyalty, for principle. They don't realize they're pawns in a game where Roman is willing to sacrifice anyone including them to achieve his ultimate goals. GUSO has been through so much trauma at Roman's hands already, and here he is trusting Roman again, believing that this time will be different, that this time Roman has actually changed and puts family first. But Roman hasn't changed. He's exactly who he's always been, just better at hiding his true intentions until it's too late for anyone to stop him. When the full truth comes out about Roman orchestrating the Punk attack and whatever else he's been planning, the Usos and Sami are going to be devastated, betrayed all over again, and we're going to watch that pain play out in real time. Now let me address the obvious question that some of you are screaming at your screens right now. Why would WWE allow Roman to do something like this? Why would they be complicit in a conspiracy that involves attacking one of their other top stars? The answer is complicated but boils down to business and politics. Roman Reigns is arguably the most valuable active wrestler WWE has right now. His bloodline storyline has been the most successful and profitable angle the company has run in years. He draws money, he generates media attention, he's someone they absolutely cannot afford to lose or alienate. So when Roman comes to management and says I have this plan, it's going to create massive buzz and attention, it'll give us months of storytelling, and by the way I need you to look the other way on some things, management has to seriously consider going along with it because opposing Roman could mean losing him altogether. And CM Punk, for all his star power and talent, also has a reputation for being difficult and burning bridges. If WWE has to choose between keeping Roman happy or keeping Punk happy, they're probably choosing Roman 9 times out of 10. The business implications of this conspiracy are staggering when you think about them long term. If Roman successfully pulls off whatever his ultimate plan is, if he manages to position himself as the de facto power broker in WWE who controls booking and creative direction, that fundamentally changes the entire company's structure. It means wrestlers will have to go through Roman to get opportunities. It means storylines will be built around what serves Roman's interests. It means WWE becomes Roman's company in everything but name, with management reduced to rubber stamping whatever Roman wants because they've ceded so much power to him that taking it back would be nearly impossible. Some people might argue that's already the case, that top stars have always had that kind of influence. But what Roman is doing goes beyond normal star power. He's systematically eliminating threats, creating chaos to mask his power plays, and building a network of allies and dependencies that will make him functionally irreplaceable and untouchable. For CM Punk specifically, being used as a pawn in Roman's scheme is probably the most insulting and infuriating thing that could happen. Punk prides himself on being smart, on seeing through political games, on not letting anyone manipulate or use him. The fact that he got blindsided by an attack he didn't see coming as part of a conspiracy he wasn't aware of has to be eating him alive right now. Punk is probably investigating obsessively, trying to figure out who attacked him and why, following leads that go nowhere because Roman made sure to cover his tracks. And if and when Punk finally discovers that Roman was behind it, that he was just collateral damage in someone else's power play, the explosion is going to be absolutely nuclear. CM Punk vs Roman Reigns with real personal animosity driving it would be one of the biggest money matches WWE could possibly book, and Roman might have been thinking that far ahead, creating a future feud that will generate massive interest in revenue. The online wrestling community has been so focused on the wrong questions about this whole situation that it's actually kind of hilarious in retrospect. Everyone's been arguing about the physical identity of the attacker, debating whether the body type matches Seth or Drew or whoever else, analyzing footage frame by frame trying to spot identifying characteristics. But that's all surface-level nonsense that misses the forest for the trees. The important question isn't who physically carried out the attack, it's who ordered it and why. The important story isn't the mystery of the masked attacker, it's the conspiracy behind why that attack happened in the first place. And by focusing everyone's attention on the wrong question, Roman and WWE have successfully controlled the narrative and kept people from asking the questions that would actually expose what's really happening. Social media has been Roman's greatest ally in pulling this off because of how social media rewards speculation and hot takes over careful analysis. People want simple answers, dramatic revelations, shocking swerves. They don't want to hear about complex long-term conspiracies that require putting together multiple pieces of evidence across weeks or months of television. So when the Punk attack happened, Twitter and YouTube and Reddit immediately exploded with theories about returning stars and shocking debuts and personal vendettas, all stuff that sounds exciting but doesn't actually make sense when you think about the larger context. Roman knew this would happen. He knew the wrestling community would generate its own smokescreen through endless speculation about the wrong things, making it even easier for him to operate without scrutiny. It's brilliant manipulation of modern media dynamics and shows just how sophisticated Roman's understanding of the business has become. The historical parallels to other great wrestling conspiracies also support this theory about Roman's involvement. Think about the greatest schemes in wrestling history, the ones that were complex enough that fans didn't see them coming but made perfect sense in retrospect. Think about the higher power reveal in the Attitude Era, where months of mystery built to a reveal that shocked everyone but had been subtly foreshadowed the whole time. Think about the corporate conspiracy angles where authority figures were secretly pulling strings behind the scenes to manipulate outcomes. Think about heel turns that seemed to come out of nowhere but actually had clues going back months if you knew where to look. This Punk attack has that same energy, that same feeling of pieces clicking into place when you view them through the right lens. And Roman Reigns creating that kind of layered storytelling would be completely in character for someone who's been the focal point of WWE's best long-term booking in years. What makes this conspiracy even more brilliant is how it protects Roman from backlash when the truth comes out. When it's eventually revealed that Roman orchestrated the attack, whether that happens in a few weeks or a few months, fans won't be universally angry at him because many will actually appreciate the complexity and brilliance of the scheme. Heel Roman is already positioned as someone who does terrible things, so adding one more terrible thing to the list doesn't really change how people view him. But it does give him nuclear heat with a specific segment of the audience, makes him an even bigger target for babyfaces to chase, and creates a sense that Roman is operating on a different level than everyone else. That's valuable for storytelling because it makes Roman feel truly dangerous and unpredictable, which is exactly what the top heel should be. The legal and kayfabe implications of this are fascinating to think about too. In kayfabe, hiring someone to attack another wrestler would presumably be against WWE's rules and could result in suspension, firing, or legal consequences. But Roman has always operated with the understanding that rules don't apply to him, that his position and value to the company make him untouchable. And he's been proven right repeatedly throughout his career. When he's crossed lines or broken rules before, WWE has either looked the other way or given him token punishments that don't actually affect his status. So Roman hiring someone to attack Punk, while shocking and seemingly over the line, is actually just a more extreme version of the preferential treatment he's always received. And from a real-world perspective, this is all predetermined storytelling anyway, so WWE can choose to enforce or ignore any kayfabe rules based on what serves the story they want to tell. The performance aspect of Roman maintaining his innocence and his focus on the solo storyline while secretly being behind the Punk attack is also masterful if this theory is correct. Roman hasn't shown any hints of guilt or nervousness. He hasn't done anything that would make casual viewers suspicious of his involvement. He's completely committed to playing the role of the returning leader focused solely on family business and defeating Solo. That level of commitment to a layered performance where the character is lying to everyone including the audience is actually really sophisticated acting work that not many wrestlers could pull off convincingly. But Roman has years of experience now playing a character who manipulates and deceives, so staying in that mode even when the cameras are rolling comes naturally to him at this point. For WWE's long-term storytelling, having Roman be behind the Punk attack opens up incredible possibilities that justify the initial chaos and confusion. You could have months of Punk investigating and slowly putting pieces together. You could have other wrestlers who were suspicious of Roman all along being proven right and forming an alliance against him. You could build toward a massive confrontation where everything comes out and multiple storylines that seemed separate suddenly converge into one epic clash. You could even have members of the bloodline discovering what Roman did and having to choose between continued loyalty or standing up for what's right. The storytelling branches that grow from this one conspiracy are virtually endless, and that's exactly why Roman and WWE would want to do it. I know I'm going to get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of reading too much into things, of creating elaborate scenarios out of nothing, but I want you to really think about everything I've laid out here. The motive makes sense. The timeline fits. Roman's character and history support it. The evidence from his behavior and demeanor points to someone with secrets. WWE's handling of the situation suggests they know more than they're saying. The strategic value of creating distraction and chaos aligns with Roman's ultimate goals. Every piece of this puzzle fits together, and the only reason more people haven't figured it out is because WWE and Roman have done an incredible job of misdirection and because the wrestling audience has been trained to look for simple answers instead of complex conspiracies. But this is Roman Reigns we're talking about, the smartest character in modern WWE, someone who's proven repeatedly that he thinks 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Of course he's capable of orchestrating something this elaborate. Of course he would see the strategic value in attacking Punk to create chaos. Of course he would have the connections and resources to make it happen without leaving obvious evidence. When the truth finally comes out, assuming I'm right about all of this, I want you to come back to this video and acknowledge that some of us were actually paying attention while everyone else was being worked. Share this video everywhere. Tag Roman Reigns, tag CM Punk, tag WWE, tag every wrestling outlet and personality you can think of. Force this conversation into the mainstream wrestling discourse where it belongs. Make people confront the possibility that they've been manipulated and misdirected this entire time. Because if we let WWE and Roman get away with this conspiracy without calling it out and demanding answers, we're just encouraging them to treat us like marks who'll believe anything they tell us. Roman Reigns hired the mystery man who attacked CM Punk at Wargames. I'm stating that as fact based on overwhelming evidence and logical analysis. And when this is eventually confirmed, the wrestling world is going to explode in the most spectacular way imaginable, and Roman Reigns will cement his legacy as not just a great champion but as the most brilliant strategic mind in wrestling history.